Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for this most interesting opportunity. I view AI as a novice, as a window into the answers to questions we've struggled with for eons. And to that end, the question about consumer protection is interesting and serious, and I'm happy for our discussion of it. But it seems to me that as I look at the billions and billions and even trillions of dollars being invested in this space, that those who are doing so have to have some way of funding it, right? And that's why we see this models based upon taking advantage of the consumer. And so if we were really serious about this, we'd be talking about how funding and how not to drive those who are trying to pay for that which they're doing toward the type of consumer that we're trying to protect. But what's really interesting to me is what you guys as experts in this space think is the most correct way to approach how we're going to manage the ideas that this massive investment is going to create. Because the truth of it is, that's what everybody's racing for. I used to ask, well, what good AI? Well, what good AI is looking through that window and seeing the answers to how we cure cancer, how we do all of these things. And then the people who reach that first patent those ideas and make money from them. That's the idea, isn't it? That's what's driving everybody's billions and billions of investment, right? And so getting right down to it, if we're going to continue to pay for this investment through damage to the consumer, how are we going to keep up with China, who seems to be dumping all kinds of money into it? Do you guys have better ideas about how to invest? I'll start with you.
Sure. The U.S. obviously relies on the free market, and it points the investment to where it will actually have the most impact. So right now, areas where we're seeing a lot of automation are especially in tasks that can be repeated over and over again. Take bookkeeping, for example. 80% of bookkeeping now can be automated with AI. Advanced accounting, 20%. Some of the call center workflows and tasks there is 50%. So there is a justification for this massive investment. It's that over $15 to $20 trillion might be created using AI in the next few decades. And we're already starting to see the impact of this automation in the $16 trillion services industry globally. So very similar to the cloud industry, honestly. About a decade ago, folks were, why are we investing so much in cloud? What will be the output? I think it's very similar in AI today, where we're seeing massive amounts of automation being created by AI, which is freeing people up to really work on the harder tasks versus the more repetitive ones. So I think it is a good investment.
Thank you. Moving on down the line.
Well, I think it's important we get our policies right, our regulatory framework. Let's talk again about how Europe did not. And they managed to have a massive outflow of capital and investment because it followed the workers that also left and the firms that came here to invest. A huge number of the great tech companies that are here today came from other countries and developed here. And that's what we need to could have more of with private investment following them. $500 billion investment Mr. President Trump announced with leading AI developers the first week in the White House, Project Stargate. You know, that's huge money. Nobody has money like that on the table in Europe today, or even in China, where we're something like 12, 14x over China private venture capital.
And I want to move to Ms. Kack because I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on this also. But the fact that we're able to stack up that kind of money leads me to wonder about the access of the smaller people, but regardless, the question really was, is there some better way to fund what we're doing?
Thank you, Representative. I think just because you mentioned the curing cancer example, it's interesting that AI company CEOs use that as their sort of flagship example for why we should be investing billions of dollars including in public money to build out AI infrastructure. But the receipts don't exist yet. We're being told that this form of superintelligence is going to bypass scientific hurdles, but we don't really know how. But maybe even more concerningly, if we want best-in-class AI, we need to have best-in-class research infrastructure to begin with. And so on the one hand, we're talking about AI curing cancer. On the other hand, we're seeing NIH subject to $4 billion cuts when, in fact, the main focus of NIH is cancer research. So I do think that for the U.S. to lead in AI, we need a strong foundation, and I'm worried that we're sort of walking back some of the progress we've made there.
Thank you. Chamber of Commerce.
I don't think there's a better model. Europe doesn't have any private investment. Part of the Draghi report was that there is not the incentive to invest in Europe, and that the regulatory frameworks that drive investment in Europe aren't there to support risk-taking. Obviously, we do rely on private investment in the United States because we incentivize risk-taking here. China uses a public funding model largely. So I'm not sure I know of a better model than the one we've come up with.